Good morning to you. It's a rainy, wet Thursday in the city of Lagos, West Africa, from where we are broadcasting in our studios right here. And it's the second day of September. So welcome to the brightest and colorful breakfast show across Africa. This is Breakfast Central on News Central. My name is Olisa Chukwumah.
Good morning, Africa. My name is Oluchi Enobong. Now, we are Africa Fest, broadcasting live from Lagos, Nigeria. It is a wet Thursday in this part of the continent. It's been raining all through the night, so we're expecting that the rain will calm down just a little bit. Well, let's now bring you our headlines for today, Tuesday, September 2nd, 2021.
We'll start in Nigeria, where 73 students have been abducted in Zamfara state.
And we'll still touch Nigeria, where the president has sacked 2 ministers, announced his replacement.
Also, sticking with Nigeria, yes, education sector jams class cut-off marks. We'll tell you all about it.
And the massacre killings, these killers are sponsored, says the Ugandan police. More on that.
Also looking at trends across Africa with Trend Wave. Don't want to miss it right here on Breakfast Central. While you're watching Breakfast Central on News Central, it's the second day of September 2021. It's a Thursday. Don't forget to follow us on all our social media platforms at News Central TV, on Instagram, Facebook, and if you're outside Nigeria, check us out on Twitter. Do feel free. Let's start quickly looking at the front pages of different papers. And yes, we're starting this time in Nigeria, I think with the Daily Trust, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. Yes, we're looking at the Daily Trust this morning, and the Daily Trust seems to have quite a number of stories. Now, this one is talking about the ministers. It says, poor performance, more ministers to go as Buhari sacks Nanono and Maman. The writer here says, how Cabinet Office report nailed the ministers. You can get more of this information from the Daily Trust this morning. Now you can see some people on a speeding boat, I think, yes, with their life jackets. What is going on when it comes to the waterways in this part of the world? You need to go to the Daily Trust for more details. Now, another big story here, which we also have in our top story, says how bandits kidnapped 74 students, 2 teachers in Zamfara. Police, this is what the writer says, police nabbed abductor of Afaka students in Kaduna State. More details on this from the Daily Trust this morning.
All right, so we can go to the Daily Monitor in Uganda, see what they have for us this morning. The Daily Monitor in Uganda. So the front page talks about 10 charged over massacre killings. That's one of the stories we'll be following on this morning out there in Uganda. Also, it talks about today and culture, politics intercept what they call the 60 million shilling traded to EC boss. All of that and more on the front page of the Daily Trust.
All right, moving from the Daily Trust, we are going moving from the Daily Monitor, we are going to the front page of the Namibian paper this morning, and the front page has quite a lot of information. The big story, one of the big story here says, I am medically fit. That is what it says. Who is saying it and why is it saying it? You need to go to the front page and the middle page of the front page of the front page of the Namibian paper this morning. Now, a big question mark is here. You can see the major stakeholders, you can see their pictures at the front page, and it says smoking gun. What exactly is going on in the Namibian papers this morning? You need to go to page 4 and 5 of the paper for more information on that.
All right, so we can go to this wetting in South Africa to see what they have for us this morning. Wow, big story talks about the last page of a glorious struggle chapter. So we're all about the Lille Stiff shutting down, and there's a picture of all that vicinity and the story that's all involved there. So there you have it, and also a bit of sports with Paralympians visually impaired doing so well out there at the Tokyo Olympics. More of that on the front page of the Sowetan. Now, away from the newspapers this morning, let's bring you our top stories right here on Breakfast Central. Now, we're starting in Nigeria, where police in Zamfara state have confirmed the abduction of 73 students at the Government Day Secondary School in Kaya in Maradun local government area of the state, which is the local government council state for Governor Bello Matawale. Now, this is coming barely 5 days after some students of the College of Agriculture and Animal Science, that's in Bukura. The latest wave of abductions in Zamfara followed new stringent policies announced by the governments of adjoining northwest states to cut supply of essential commodities to bandits operating from forests in the states.
Now, the police spokesperson in Zamfara, in the person of Muhammad Shehu, while confirming the incident, said the state command under the leadership of CP Ayuba Elkanah has deployed search and rescue team that was mandated to work in synergy with the military to ensure the safe rescue of the abducted student. Now, our Abuja-based correspondent Ahmadin Uyi joins us now on this. Good morning, Ahmadin. This is yet another attack, just 5 days after the release of students from the College of Agriculture and Animal Science in Bakura. Tell us really what you know about this story so far.
Good morning, Oluchi. Good morning, Olisa. It's very clear that there is a new black market economy, which is currently kidnapping for ransom. If you know, the Zamfara area used to be notorious for illegal mining. In fact, that was what fuel and bettered banditry in that region of the country. However, with the ban on artisanal mining and also with the efforts of the federal government to stop all illegal mining activities, the bandits have to turn to something else. And now kidnapping is the most lucrative, in fact, is the economy now in vogue, black market economy. You kidnap for ransom, you hear the kind of monies parents pay, and you hear the kind of monies state governments go behind to pay. It marvels you. This is an industry that is worth billions in naira. So the bandits have struck, and they've been very brazen about it. This time, just like you said, they have gone to the local government area council of the state governor. So we have talked here severally on this program that the state governors are helpless. You heard the Katsina state governor call sometime, calling on citizens to protect themselves. It was an act of desperation because it's been very clear that nothing is being done or nothing can be done at the federal level to stop this crime.
Well, Ahmadin, so another kidnapping this time, abductions in Zamfara, 5 days after the one we saw at the College of Science in Bakura. Bello Matawale looks like his state is being, embattled and bedeviled by kidnapping and banditry. Is Zamfara perhaps taken to leapfrog the place of Kaduna in terms of banditry and kidnapping, where Nigeria is now security-wise?
No, points of correction. Zamfara was the origin of banditry in the Northwest, not Kaduna. Kaduna only came on board in the last few months because of the attitude of the governor and the government and the state government of Kaduna to handling the kidnapping issue. So it escalated. But everything in that region, the Northwest region, started from Zamfara because Zamfara is rich in mineral resources, especially gold. So over the last few years, there have been a lot of illegal mining activities and a lot of activities, and this has fueled banditry. Remember, if you have been following the news, early this year, sometime last year, you hear of whole communities wiped by these bandits as they are fighting for territory. So it started in Zamfara, only that in the last few months, it came down because Kaduna had become the eye of the storm with so many institutions in Kaduna. Like I said, it's the black market economy. So, but it has never gone away in Zamfara. It has been there. I recall almost 2 years ago when I spoke to the National Secretary of the Mieti Allah Association, who was complaining that cattle rustling had become the norm, that their members were suffering seriously from these bandits, cattle rustling and the rest. From cattle rustling, now they have migrated to kidnapping of students. It's not the first time it has happened in Zamfara. We hope it is the last. We hope there's a new strategy to be able to change this. The government has tried severally, giving amnesty, calling on the bandits to come and return their weapons and be reintegrated into the society. But you know how this works. Someone who is used to banditry, who is used to making millions for doing nothing, you tell him to drop his arms, sit down, there is no job. Even if you as a government will pay him stipends, how much can you pay him? So until something decisively is done, those who are into it know that there are consequences for their actions. Then they will have a rethink when they want to go into banditry and kidnapping.
All right, big story in Nigeria. We still have our correspondent Amadine Uyi right here with us on Breakfast Central. Now, moving away from the abductions, we're going to more still important matters in the country. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday sacked the Ministers of Agriculture and Power. Surprise, surprise. Now, Mohammed Nanoino and his power counterpart, Saleh Maman, were relieved of their duties after the weekly Federal Executive Council meeting. Meanwhile, the Minister of Environment, Mohammed Abubakar, has been redeployed to the Ministry of Agriculture, while the Minister of State for Works, Abubakar Aliyu, will take over as Minister of Power.
Now, the two ministers will become the first set of ministers to be sacked by the president since he assumed office in 2015. Now, his first set of ministers served out his first term. Amadine, I know you're still there. I mean, the president, it took everyone by surprise. Tell us what you make of the sack and the replacements as we speak.
First of all, it's one of the most cheering news that has come from the presidency in the last 6 years. I say one of the most cheering news because I'll tell you from exclusive information. When these ministers, before they were appointed, they signed a performance bond with the president. And so a lot of us who had our ears on ground expected that there will be a review of their activities and their performance over time. But over the last 6 years, the presidency has given Nigerians this belief that once you are appointed into any executive position on behalf of the president, that you are there till the presidency will not do anything and will just allow you to sit. We have seen ministers, some ministers who have excelled. We have seen the Minister of Transportation, Rotimi Amechi, who on a monthly basis had to visit the Lagos-Ibadan standard gauge rail tracks when it was being constructed because he wanted them to the contractors to perform. That has been the most outstanding minister in this administration. But we have seen others who just sat down believing that they are now ministers on behalf of the federal government and nothing can be done. If you listen clearly to the statement Mr. President made, he said that this review will be continuous. Nigerians are happy about it. I read the statement of the presidential candidate of the Young Progressive Party during the last election, Kingsley Moghalu, who said that this would have been done 4 years ago. Now, the presidency has just 2 years to complete his tenure. Maybe he has finally started listening to public outcry on the performance of his appointees. So for us in the city center, for so many Nigerians on the streets, Nigerians are excited because they believe that once Mr. President is able to wield this big stick, it will cause other ministers and other appointees of the president to sit down. And some will liken this to a kick in the butt, saying that you should be ready to perform. You are not just there to occupy an executive position attached with all the paraphernalia that comes with it. Nigerians expect these ministers to perform. We are here on News Central. We have done stories of the escalating prices of food in the market, recalling that the federal government has put in billions. There's currently a short clip that airs on News Central of farmers saying that they have not assessed intervention. These interventions are worth billions of naira. Yeah. So for a minister who just sits down, federal government intervention is not reaching the target audience, the food prices of food is escalating. We also remember that there was a Siemens deal which was being supervised by the former chief of staff That was what led him to catch COVID-19 when he went to Germany.
Yeah.
It was expected that by this time, our transmission would have been boosted and even generation capacity would have been boosted. But Nigerians are not feeling it.
Yeah, so everyone is clearly excited or surprised, if you want to, juxtapose to see about this new one from President Buhari. But I'd love to look at the spokesman, his Femi Adesina, the comments he made, take a bit of a quote from him regarding this latest development from Aso Rock. And this is Femi Adesina, the presidential spokesperson, is saying that there was an independent and critical self-review that helped to identify and strengthen weak areas, close gaps, build cohesion and synergy in governance, manage the economy, and improve the delivery of public good to Nigeria. So, question is, are these the only ministers, to be reviewed? Could there be more in all of this? We'll see more cabinet reshuffle, Ahmadine, out there in Abuja, because this is a new, perhaps a different Buhari we're seeing now.
Now, from the statement, if you read the full statement, it is clear that there will be future reshuffles. I remember I was in Daura in 2015, where we went to cover the election which brought in President Muhammadu Buhari. And one of the key things he told us journalists was that from time to time, he will work with civil society organizations and foreign partners to critically review and see how the dividends of democracy can be brought to Nigerians. 6 years down the line, has he done it? Maybe he has finally decided to pick up their reports, because from the statement, he said that this independent review has said that these ministers are not performing. And he said that this will be continuous. The Buhari administration has barely about a year before it terminates. Not just a year finally before it ends, but a year before electioneering starts. By this time next year, we'll be in the thick of elections for another dispensation. Right. So it is believed that between now and next year is the last grace that Nigerians will have of the Buhari administration to perform. It is hoped that within this time there will be reviews.
All right. Thank you so much, Abuja-based correspondent Ahmadine Uyi, for the latest in the, taking out of two ministers, agriculture and power. Which one's next? We'll just have to wait and see.
Thank you very much. All right, more top stories coming right here on the program. Right, this is Breakfast Central on News Central. Now, we're still in Nigeria, where the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board, JAMB, has adopted and announced a minimum cutoff mark for 2021 admissions. Now, JAMB Registrar Professor Isaac Oloyede disclosed the minimum cutoff marks adopted by tertiary institutions at the 2021 policy meeting that held in Abuja.
Now, according to the new arrangement, universities are not allowed to go below 120, while polytechnics and colleges of education are not allowed to go below 100 marks for admission. Now, this means that there will be no, so to speak, uniform cutoff marks for the 2021-2022 admissions sessions. Now, this has clearly raised eyebrows all around the country. And to discuss the implications of this move, we have joining us, that's Abdusalam Amo, who is a publisher of Edu Celeb. Now, Abdusalam, morning, welcome to Breakfast Central. Why do you think this decision was made, and what exactly are its significance?
Well, let me correct the impression of the issue of the cutoff mark. There has never been a uniform cutoff mark since the establishment of JAMB. And we should notice that each university is empowered by law to determine its own cutoff mark. So what is being done now is just to re-emphasize that. It's not entirely new, because by law, each university senate is empowered to admit students as it requires according to its set guidelines. Because even in the past, let's take the instance of the University of Lagos. The cutoff mark for University of Lagos has always been 200 from 1978. But for somebody studying a course like medicine, that person's cutoff mark would never be 200. It would be like between 240 and 300 or whatever, depending on the performance, general performance for that year and some other criteria set by the university. So there has never been a concept of uniform cutoff mark at all.
Right. Now, Abu Salam, some may argue that by this move, JAMB has given autonomy to universities to determine the fate of students. Do you agree with this assertion?
Well, it's not entirely, the universities are not entirely autonomous because they still depend on JAM. They still depend on following, what JAM is just there to do is to ensure that they follow the set rules that they've set within their systems. The existence of JAM in the first place was to check admission racketeering and some other irregularities in the admission process. Universities have some autonomy, and this will not make any difference in that instance.
All right, Abdul Salam. So with this move, do you see the post-UTME still necessary as it outlived its usefulness? If they're coming out with this decision by JAM, so doesn't that really question its need in the first place now?
Well, the argument about post-UTME is coming into place was because of the lack of trust in the UTME in the first place. But in recent years, with some new regulations, such as the NIN to check impersonation and some other things like that, we've seen a reduction in the number of universities that are offering post-UTME. More than 60% of universities no longer write post-UTME these days because of the new trust they've had in JAM. And it has been attested by their authorities based on that they don't need any post-UTME because they believe that JAM had already regulated the candidates to ensure that it's whatever they wrote is what they are being scored on, and that's what they are presenting to the universities. So we don't really need the post-UTME. Even some would argue that we don't even need JAM anymore. We don't really need JAM in the first place, which is also a valid argument. But we don't. But because of the system we are running, we still have to continue writing the UTME every year.
All right. Now, Abu Salam, when we're looking at the educational sector, we have a lot of employers who have come out to complain about the kind of graduates we turn out every year, talking about half-baked and talking about the quality of education they get in these different institutions. What do you think can be done? Right now we have JAM, who is trying to make sure there's a sieve to get the good ones into universities. But when these good ones enter high institutions, getting them jobs is a big issue.
Well, regarding that, the system has created various avenues to get people employed on their own. When they do the NYS, in their university days, they have the GST, the General Studies Compulsory Course in Entrepreneurship. At NYSC, there is the SLIDE and some other programs like that. Because the government already understands that it cannot provide for everybody. And in that instance, it considers entrepreneurship as an alternative. But to make graduates employable, we need to create a system where the system itself is able to get them employed. When you don't have constant electricity, we don't have some other facilities in place. There are no companies that want to keep people, even if they are qualified, because it's not a case of people not being qualified. It's a case of the availability of spaces for them to get jobs to work. So the government, the system itself is not made to work based on, we consider the funding, majorly the funding. We can say that the policy, they have a lot of policies on paper, but it's a matter of funding, which is even affecting the university system or the higher education system entirely at the moment.
Well, thank you so much, Abdul Salam Amo, publisher, educator, celeb, right here on Breakfast Central for giving us your time. I'm sure there'll be lots to talk about this in terms of the wider scale and the attractiveness of these universities themselves, even after the JAM. But thank you so much once again, Abdul Salam, for your time on Breakfast.
Thank you for having me.
All right, while moving on to Uganda, the police in the country says the groups behind the killings of the people in Greater Masaka area are organized and sponsored by individuals that are yet to be discovered. Now, at least 28 people have been killed in Masaka City and Luengo district since late July, and 15 suspects who have admitted to the killings have been arrested.
The police spokesperson, Fred Enanga, said the killings are planned activities and that the police are working hard to expose the sponsors, so this case has really made lots of headlines in Uganda regarding the massacre killings, and now the police saying that people sponsored this. I really wonder how the government of Yoweri Museveni will be looking to tackle this issue out there in Uganda.
And residents in the Greater Masaka region have actually been in panic since last month when the attack started. And with a special attention or with a special focus at the elderly people being the victim of this attack. It's a sad one, especially at this point in time.
All right, so that's one of the big stories in Uganda. Let's go to one of the papers this morning, the Daily Monitor. We teased that earlier, and a couple of suspects that were paraded in that one, and talked about the 10 charge over the massacre killings.
Right, and at this point in time, Masaka's chief magistrate has remanded 10 suspects in prison from until September 15, where they're expected to return for further mentioning of their case. Now, this arrest seem to be coming at a time where the people have been thrown into panic, and the government is trying to gain back confidence in the people at this point in time. All
right, so there'll be lots to follow on that story regarding the killings out there in Masaka, Uganda. Well, you're still watching Breakfast Central on News Central. There's been lots to talk about and follow on the program today. First of all, a recap of what we brought to you so far.
We talked about 73 students abducted in Zamfara state in Nigeria.
Also, President Buhari sacks 2 ministers in Nigeria, announces replacements for them.
And the massacre killings are sponsored by, says Uganda police, I beg your pardon.
Central today, West African country survival without the CFA franc.
And we will be bringing you trends across the continent of Africa.
Plus, programs to watch much later on News Central.
Right now, this is Breakfast Central on News Central. If you're yet to download the News Central mobile app on Play Store and iOS, what are you waiting for? Hurry up, do that right away so you can stay in touch with the latest news, politics, sports, and more on the go.
Well, let's talk about some business this time. Now, since the early 2000s, the 15-member Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, has been pursuing a common currency agenda centered on what's been called the ECO, now with the intention of reducing barriers to doing business across the region and increasing trade overall.
Now, while the implementation of the new currency has been postponed due to hurdles in macroeconomic convergence and the disruptions caused by COVID-19 pandemic, many policymakers remain keen to forge ahead with implementation now tentatively set for 2027. Now, the 15 heads of state and government concerned have set a new date for the transition in the year 2027. But really, how feasible is this date? New Business Desk editor Nasiru Agbalaya joins us now to discuss this. Good morning, Nas. Now, this single currency discussion has been ongoing since the early 2000s. Will this new date of the year 2027 work this time around?
Well, sincerely, it's a possibility. Everybody needs it. But first, this discussion started in the 80s, not the 2000s. In the 80s, went on to the 90s, and the initial date of 2020 was set, come and gone. Now, the new dates, we all know why that was pushed there, because of COVID and, of course, other macroeconomic problems that brought. But that is not just the only reason. Now, in West Africa, we all know that Nigeria, Ghana are the largest economies. These are Anglophone countries. And rightly so, all Anglophone countries somehow are in sync. They are moving forward with this in every respect. But the Francophone neighbors in West Africa are not entirely going with the program. That as it may, because part of their central bank is not in Africa at all, it's in France. So with that, they don't have full control over their economy. You know, they have a unified currency that they use, that CFA franc. And they are trying to move away from that. And that itself has caused another issue, which now the whole sub-region is trying to resolve. Because sometime last year, they adopted the same name which everyone has agreed to use, the ECHO. Now, that has caused a lot of diplomatic issues. But we really believe that come 2027, this time around, we'll get it right.
Well, Naz, the 8 member states of the West African Economic and Monetary Union have been quite slow to ratify the abandonment of the CFA franc. What do you think is responsible for this delay?
Now, the disparity in their GDP is one of the major reasons. Not just that, of course, that the economies are not equal. Just like what we had in the European Union when they were starting off. Some countries are stronger than others. Also, the level of export in certain nations are more than others. So all this disparity, it's what is delaying it. But I would really believe that with this new plan in place to have the actual central bank for West Africa starting 2025, this time around we'll get it right.
All right. Now, Naz, if eventually this happens, will the ECHO rate be fixed or will it be flexible? And how independent will its central bank be?
Now, that is the main big question, because one of the fundamental decisions has not been made. First, how many people or how many nations will be majority shareholders? Now, that has not been determined. Not just that, where will this central bank be located? That also is still in the air. Now, all these indecisions or indecisiveness of the finance ministers of West African state and their principals are probably the major problems which has been pulling this, stalling having a unified currency. Now, there's a new timeline. Now, 2025 is when the new central bank should start operation. So between now and then, all these issues need to be sorted out. I believe by next year, by and large, considering the fact that, yes, more commerce is happening now around the world, this decision will be done easily.
Well, thank you so much, our business desk editor, Naz Agbala, for the latest in terms of this 2027 vision of the West African ECHO. Well, Vision 2027, I'll leave it like that. Thank you so much, Naz, for your time. Well, you're still watching Breakfast Central with Oluchi and Olisa. We're going back to Uganda. That story that involved the massacre killings. Many people killed, and the police coming out to say that the people responsible were sponsored. We're joined now by Ugandan journalist Julius Kato. Julius, morning to you. Welcome to the program. Tell us what you know about the killings and what brought about it in the first place.
All right. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak to the world through News Central in Nigeria. Yesterday night, a few kilometers where the police was stationed and taking pictures of how they are set to do patrols in Masaka, where these killings are taking place. The machete-wielding gangsters went ahead and killed a lady and, of course, cut one off their hand and was rushed to the hospital. But before that, it's now 6 weeks since we've lost 25 lives in that very region. 15 of the assailants have been arrested and paraded before courts and sent to prison. But again, that is not enough. We well know that the killings have been happening for the last 5 weeks. And for the past 1 week, the security has always been saying that they are going to come on top of the situation. And on the 6th week, we've seen them all have deployments from the military to police to CIDs coming in this very area to topple the situation. But again, just as an insight, the 25 people who have been killed, most of them, if it is not 90%, most of them between the ages of 50 to 80 years. Nobody knows why the elderly are being attacked at this point. And more to this is they are not taking any property, not even money from these people before killing them, not even asking them why they are being killed. So it is quite a tragedy in Uganda in that very area. But when the assailants were interrogated, they say that Their point target centers were one of the districts called Ruengo and Masaka, and the cells that they were supposed to operate in were Chibanya, Kabonero, and Bukoto South. So some of the assailants have been arrested. They arrested about 69 assailants, but upon seizing all of them, they arrested upon 15 who had core investigative links to the murders. And of course, upon searching their homes, they found out pangas and of course some guns that were being stolen from Kamengo, a few kilometers away from Masaka. And that is what is happening. So police is trying to make sure that it calms down the situation, coupled with other sister agencies, talk about the military, the intelligence. But again, what is happening right there is very alarming as our elders are being killed.
Right. Now, Julius, you've clearly said a lot. I mean, elders are being between 50 to 80 years with no reason, as at the time of this report. And it looks as if for the past 5 weeks, these attacks have been happening non-stop. I mean, what do you think, or what do you think the people of Uganda can say to the president if they have the opportunity at this point in time, especially for Greater Masaka?
Many political actors have come out to say that there needs to be more funding for the intelligence sector in Uganda, which is less funded and it's grappling with funding. So most of the political actors yesterday, the Uganda People's Congress President General Jimmy Akena did come out and say that there is need to enhance the CID section because the linking gaps are between why the killings are happening and what security is doing. So the middle link is what is the CID. If these can be prevented, if security has been seeing all this for the past 5 weeks and almost 27 or 28 people are killed now, I mean, why come out at this time and start having heavy deployments? The issue is they would have killed 2 people and security come in to stop all this. But as of now, nobody can tell why the security has come out at this point. But what the people of Uganda really want to have is to have a peaceful area. Masaka has always had these killings. This is not the first time. The first time it happened, one of the ringleaders was killed. He was called Chidawarime. He was killed and they thought this had come to an end, but resurfacing again brings so many questions to our intelligence sector. But again, Ugandans living in that part of the area, people watching us on News Central, must know that they have been having restless nights. Even if patrols are coming out, patrols might pass somewhere and you hear the other region, somebody has been killed. So the situation is very alarming, and I guess that many Ugandans want the president at least to hear the cries of political actors asking for enhancement.
All right, Julius. Julius, the police spokesperson Enanga talked about these killings being sponsored and coordinated and organized, and they are working to expose the sponsors. Doesn't that really strike you quite scarily about who would sponsor, what people sponsoring such killings in Uganda under President Yusuf's rule? Where does this, go for the government now?
I would clearly say that the leader of opposition, Honorable Matthias Mpuga, is a member of parliament from one of the regions where these killings are happening. We well know that the opposition in this country does not have a flat landing, even when a situation goes berserk. So the statement by the president, or maybe the police spokesperson, Fred Enanga, saying that the opposition, or maybe the killings motivated politically, I cannot have clear evidence to this. But when you join dots along that statement, you will know that that could be an escape route. We shouldn't be equating lives of Ugandans suffering and, of course, losing their loved ones and putting politics in it. The issue is there's the security of this nation. Come out clearly and tell the people that the situation is going to be toppled and let their lives be at peace. Because if you say they are politically motivated, we're going to another lane, which we might not have a very good conclusion. We will even have people start saying that this government has failed to guard its own people. One of the mandates of the security in the constitution of this nation is to guard the people of this nation, their property.
All right.
So once you cross the line, the killings are motivated politically, then I guess the lives are being put to a comedy store.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Julius Kanto, journalist based out there in Uganda. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for hosting me as well.
All right. Well, you're still watching Breakfast Central on News Central. Up next is Trend Wave. Right, Breakfast Central on News Central. Let's go straight to the trend. And we're joined by a sister from Uganda. Yes, Amal Kansime. Well, Amal, I'm sure you've been following the sad story, the killings in Masaka. I hope that your family and loved ones are not also involved. But Amal, morning to you. What's going on in terms of the trends across Africa?
Yes, now starting off with the trends this lovely, lovely Thursday morning, although, given the sad news that we just heard, we have the president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, who has reportedly closed down not one, not two, but 6,000 churches so far, and is now demanding a theology degree from every religious leader who is intending to open or keep their business, to keep the church or, to keep a church or open a church. And he gave a statement and he said in a quote, "Stop playing with people's faith and making it a business. Rwanda is already a blessed country." Now, we know the country that we're living in, Africa, basically is a very religious continent. We are very religious with what we do, and we're very, we follow, as we are told, Nigeria, given Nigeria, Uganda, and most African countries. But so definitely a lot of people had a lot to say. Let's just take a look at some of the comments. So we have Comforter, who starts by saying, did Jesus have a theology degree? Did the apostles of Jesus Christ have a theology degree? We have more comments coming up from Teacher the Writer, who says, dear Christians, let's stop defending our faith to people who cannot understand. They don't have the power to understand. So I guess these are people that are against Kagame's decision. We have Natural Boy Films, who says, is it by degree? Even though theology school is important, it's just like having an acting gift and still go to film school. It's important, but doesn't justify this action. We can do better. Yeah, and there are more comments coming. Rarely seen, who says pastors are also humans. They have the right to be rich. How can you work in God's house and be poor? We're also talking about God, the God of riches, the one-way bill is Compass. Well, many people have gone on to say, some people have been supporting him, other people have been saying it's the right thing. We have seen Nigerians also state that they would like to see this action also taken in Nigeria, where they ask, pastors to get theology degrees. Not everybody should open a church. Not everybody should be allowed to open a church, because at this point, it's starting to look like a business. But I don't know, what do you guys think?
It's controversial because, first of all, I'm not playing any form of devil advocate here, but closing down 6,000 churches, why would the government or the president do that? Do they have a right to see constitution? And what about freedom?
Olisa, it is almost becoming a business.
But what about freedom? Business or not? What about freedom of religion?
These people do not pay taxes. Now, some people are even coming out to say that they should start paying taxes.
Tax them. You shouldn't close down churches.
A lot of these churches, Olisa, they have higher institutions that the fees are not even comfortable or convenient.
In Rwanda or Nigeria?
In Nigeria.
There's a comment that was stating that how can you serve God and be poor? But you have to remember the congregation that is, the congregation in the church is not always the richest, honestly. These people give and give and give. And when you walk on, like, in Lagos, I'll give Lagos, for example, when you walk on the street, you cannot see less than at least 2 churches on every street. There's always a church somewhere.
It's a goal somewhere. It's a 5-minute walk goal.
We know we're quite religious in Africa, but to close down over 6,000 churches in Rwanda, then demand for theology degrees, it's a bit odds and ends. You don't see anybody telling
factories.
Would you tell someone to close down a mosque and request for a Muslim theological degree?
If it becomes a business, Olisa, somebody might come up with it.
Then it would. But
it might be seen as prosecution in some sense.
I
have no religious bearings in any way. I don't subscribe to any religion. But come on, 6,000 and theological degrees, like, come on.
But anyway, we know Rwanda is one of the biggest upcoming African countries. But anyway, moving on to the next trend wave. This is going to be the biggest trend wave, honestly, for the next few weeks till it ends, and that is no other than Big Brother Nigeria. And this time it's all about one of the contestants by the name of Tega, who made some shocking statements, very shocking statements. Now, Tega is one of the housemates that is married, and I don't know if I can say happily married, but she's married anyway. And she was caught on camera making very shocking revelations. Let's just look at the video.
Even like when they ask me questions, what if you go outside and your husband says he's not married again? I say, you have to get the face, you have to get everything. Answer the question.
So basically what she's saying that, and sees her saying, if her husband gets offended that she's with a housemate and doing whatever she wants to do with the housemate, she has the money, she has the fame, she has everything. And shockingly enough, her husband actually came out to defend her, because we were all waiting for the husband's statement. But he came out to defend her, and he stated that he has cheated on her before, and he cheated in their matrimonial home, and he doesn't blame her for everything that she's doing. and he will support her, he will continue to support her. And he gave out a statement and he said, first of all, I love my wife so much. However, I would like to state that our marriage is not perfect, just like everybody else. We're two imperfect people. The past 24 hours has been hell for us as a family. I have wronged my wife in so many ways by cheating on her. But what broke the bond as a couple, before you judge me, you know that I'm not perfect. So he basically goes on to give excuses or reasons why his wife is acting like why she's acting the way. And there's some comments to defend and also oppose. We have Opsi Swagger who says, that is why she needs to come. Hey, that's why she needs to come home on Sunday so that you can settle your family issues at home, not on the internet. We have a few more comments from Vivi Louis, who says, as it should be, I applaud him for living with his truth of messing up. We have Official Lawyer who says, this man choked breakfast for live TV. The pain is different. So, you know, it's very confusing. I don't know if she has the leeway or if she has a pass to do whatever she wants on TV since he dishonored their marriage also as well. But
talking about having your cake and eating it.
Wow.
I think she was like, oh, you have to do this to me. Wait, I'll serve you yours on.
Well,
I'll serve you yours on live TV.
Thank you. Always the best, bringing us the latest when it comes to the trend.
Thank you.
All right, up next right here is sports. And let's give you some updates in terms of the results. The World Cup qualifiers, so many of them played yesterday, so we'll just have to run through the results for you, starting from the continent of Africa. Yes, so matches played yesterday when it comes to World Cup qualifiers all across Africa. The likes of Senegal were also busy with Sadio Mane scoring a goal for them. Also the likes of Egypt, also with Mo Salah getting a 1-0 victory over Angola. Guinea-Bissau 1-1 draw against Guinea, and we saw Cape Verde against the Central African Republic finishing 1-1. Today there'll be matches, that's for sure. World Cup qualifiers. The key one we'll be looking at, yes, involves, Uganda. Amao's Uganda versus Kenya. That's an East African derby. Algeria, Djibouti. A couple of absentees we'll have to see. And there you have it, Niger against Burkina Faso. Well, away from the African continent, let's talk about the ones that happen in Europe. Cristiano Ronaldo, once again broke records. Another record from the big Portuguese and Manchester United striker, scoring twice to really break a goal-scoring record of 110 international goals for Portugal. So it was a comeback victory, 2-1 over Northern Ireland yesterday. So Ronaldo yet again breaking more records. But let's look at the results in Europe elsewhere, as we saw it last night in terms of European qualifiers for the World Cup. So you have it, 2-1 for Portugal over Ireland, Ronaldo scoring twice. France at 1-1 draw with Bosnia, Antoine Griezmann scoring, and the likes of Latvia against Gibraltar. Today there will be more matches to look out for. Yes, indeed, for fixtures for today when it comes to World Cup qualifiers. Key of those will be Italy against Bulgaria, the likes of England against Hungary, Spain against Sweden. You don't want to miss that one. So there you have it in terms of the fixtures. There'll be lots to cover later in the world of sports.
Right now, before we wrap up, there are some programs that will be coming up later today on News Central.
At 11 a.m. West African time, Business Edge.
And at 5:30 West African time, we have Reports Dex Africa.
A wrap-up of the day's news at 9 p.m. with NC Continental Prime. All right, so that makes it Thursday's package on News Central, on Breakfast Central.
All right, and we have Dr. Chinwe Ikeweazu, who has been appointed the Assistant Director General for Health Emergency Intelligence at the World Health Organization from the 1st of November 2001. He will lead the work on strengthening pandemic and epidemic intelligence globally, including heading the WHO Hub for Pandemic and Epidemic Intelligence in Berlin. Now, he's currently the Director General of Nigeria's Center for Disease Control, a trained infectious disease epidemiologist with over 20 years of experience working in senior public health and leadership positions in several national public health institutes. A big congratulations to him on behalf of News Central.
All right, clearly the man on the face of the fight in the pandemic since they all broke out last year. We'll see you tomorrow once again for Friday's edition of Breakfast Central. On behalf of the crew, technical and production, we say have yourselves a great Thursday. Bye-bye.
Stay safe.